Okay. Let us say happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. We are live. We are live. There's a lot happening in the world. We're going to speak on that in a little bit, but I just want to go ahead, get us started. Welcome, 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 folks who are joining us on the interwebs. You feel like you got a little celebration in your spirit or some hope or some like charge to go, okay, what we gonna do next? We feel you, we got you. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. I'm excited for our conversation today. Second day of our April programming, where we're talking to really fresh, innovative educators. And so let's play a little music as we get things popping and percolating over here. Yes. I'm feeling like I'm coming out of my COVID vaccine shot coma. It's just a good day. It's just a good day. Right now it is anyway. All right. So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it. Oh, let's get a little music going. It is.
Recording in progress.
I hope folks are ready. Maybe a little joy, a little rah-rah. Instruments, just in case anybody out there feels like they got some floation skills. I feel like in another life I was a DJ, not our MC, not in this. Tell you, maybe there's some more going on with this number. Let this vibe out. I got a little joy in my spirit right now. Go, black people. Hey, let's get it. Let's keep pushing for justice. Hey. Let's go ahead and get it started today, Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. I am sending love and joy and a funky two-step to folks gathering with us on the interwebs. My name is Aysha Upchurch. I'm the founder and director of HipHopEX, which is an intergenerational programming lab project based out of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. In our third year, just like everybody else, we've had to take to these virtual streets to continue programming and connecting with people. Every month, we try to stick to a theme and talk to amazing individuals who have some work that pivots hip hop around that theme. So it's springtime. It's time to see who's springtime fresh. And if you're looking at the screen, we got a super fresh, dope educator, innovator with us. So we're talking to folks who are doing and innovating ways to approach education that's more engaging for young people. Maybe we can all take some nuggets from what our guest has. So let me go on and do this official introduction. You can see some of the highlights here. But today we are going to be speaking with Austin Martin, San Diego, California native. Austin Martin is the creator and founder of Rhymes with Reason, an e-learning resource that helps students learn words and boost reading skills via hip hop and popular music. In 2014, at Brown University, Martin founded Rhymes with Reason after he discovered that 67 of the top 100 words on the SAT were detectable and recognizable hip hop lyrics. Ooh, 67 out of 100, that's the most, okay? Since 2017, Rhymes with Reason has been used in over 150 schools and education programs across the US and has been covered by Bloomberg, NPR, Education Post, Revolt TV, Huffington Post, and other media outlets. Rhymes with Reason has also collaborated with Chance the Rapper's Social Works, was awarded the 2019 Echoing Green Fellowship, and Martin was selected as one of Forbes 30 under 30. Ew. I'm like jealous. Can I go back? Like I'm so past that decade, but Martin was one of Forbes 30 under 30 in education and is currently an EDM candidate at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. All right, y'all. So go ahead, put your real hands and your virtual hands together for Austin Martin.
I'm prolific, so gifted. I'm the type that's gon' go get it. No kidding. Breaking down a switch in front of your building. Sitting on the steps feeling.
All right. I don't know if you got some bars for us, Austin, or how you feeling right now?
I didn't know. I didn't sign up for that. But if you really need it, then maybe.
Okay, wait. I'll plant the seed. Maybe at the end of our conversation, we'll see. And of course,
we'll see.
I'm always happy to go first because dance is my thing. So if you just need to feel like, wow, who can I be better than? I'm willing to go first.
Okay. All right.
How are you, Austin? Where you at? How are you? How you feeling? I know we are just for folks who join in the real time, or if you see this in recording, like what has happened is the verdict was just announced just under an hour ago. Against Derek Chauvin and the killing of George Floyd. And he was found guilty on all 3 charges. So I feel like we can't ignore that is happening right now. How are you? How you feeling? How you receiving that?
Yeah. No, I would say that overall feeling pretty good. I think the word for that for me in terms of emotion is relief, for sure. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, like we talked about, like this. It shouldn't even be we shouldn't even be at this point. We saw George Floyd get murdered on camera, and we shouldn't have our stomach in knots, right? Or we shouldn't have even had our stomach in knots awaiting the verdict because it's point blank murder, right? So, relief is the right word, and then a lot of work to do. But in general, pretty good. Just got this is a big time for me and the company Rhymes with Reason, and where we're really trying to elevate to that next level of impact. And there are a couple opportunities on the horizon to elevate to that level. So focused and but all positive stuff. So yeah, thanks for asking.
I mean, listen, since I've known you, I forget, I think it was Jordan that connected us just 3-4 years ago. I feel like I'm getting the newsletters. You've come through when we were like a in-person experience type of world, and like sat with our crew the first year that we had HipHopEX with high school and graduate students. And it's been so exciting to like see the grind that's happening with that you're putting in on with Rhymes with Reason and all of the growth. And I know like you're prepping for like pitching and like you got big stuff. We're not gonna drop them and let you hold that in your bag. And I'll just wait to hear the good news. But for those who may not know what Rhymes with Reason is, and for those who don't know who you are, I mean, y'all can look a homie up. He got a TED Talk, you know what I'm saying? You somebody once you have a TED, I feel like I just joined that club. But Austin, can you first like maybe before you get into or maybe this connects to the creation story of Rhymes with Reason, can you tell folks like what's your relationship with hip hop music and your own journey as like a learner to go, I think I need to create something.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I'll start with my relationship with hip hop. So it's really interesting because so my family, my dad and his dad, and a lot of people in my family are actually jazz musicians. So I was exposed to music at an extremely, like literally out the womb, you know, I was like exposed to music, specifically jazz and like soul, but mostly like jazz. And it's really interesting. I remember being like a really young child and actually not really liking, like I remember thinking like, it's weird because all these people around me are into music, but I'm not really into music. And this is like when I was like 5, like 4 or 5. And like I tried different instruments and things like that. But then I think I was 7 and my dad had a 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying CD. And it's random because he's like a jazz head, but I think his brother gave it to him or something. And he put it on in the car and it just all clicked for me. Like all
so
of
basically 50 Cent.
Yes.
Like your hip hop whisperer.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, 2002 about that, or maybe like early 2003. I was born in 1995. So I was 7, 8 years old. And I had to get that CD. Like I had to, my dad had it, but I had to borrow it from him and had to like,
Was there a particular track or was there like, what was it that was like, and the heavens opened and you were like, yo, I connect with music and I connect with this music. What was it about that album?
Oh man, that's a great question. I would say, I think, of course, the beats for sure. Like, I'm also huge on. I love everything about hip hop. So, like, I'll get into this later, maybe. But the thing that I really ended up gravitating to that helped form Rhymes with Reason is lyricism. But even before lyricism, I just love the beats. Like that album was, I think, I want to say that Dr. Dre produced probably 90% of it. I think maybe there was some other like guest producers on that album. But I mean, just that was like the first time really where I had heard Dr. Dre level of production. And it was just like undeniable and just amazing. And then also just, I don't know, just something, I think, as kind of, I don't know, like violent maybe as that album was and things like that. There was real storytelling on there. There was real, like, a Many Men was like, oh, like I'm like watching a movie. Like if you're listening to, it's a movie in terms of the storytelling, but it's like it's ear candy, you know, in terms of the hook. 50,
Yeah.
52, like, I know I'm like nerding now, maybe going on a tangent, but
It's okay.
his hooks are like nursery rhyme level, like catchy.
Oh, I completely agree.
So
And like, it took me a minute to embrace 50 because I was like, I think as you said, I was like, for me, where I met hip hop, right? I was like, this is catchy. This is so catchy. And all of his hits, this is not a diss or anything, but for me, they kind of sat in kind of like that same production quality pocket. I was like, okay, if I've heard one, I've heard them all. Come on, Fade to do something different. But I definitely was like, well, what will happen?
Right. Right.
When
So
we are in the club. So like, yeah.
exactly. So that was like my first introduction. I was just hooked after that. Like I was just like, after that, I was like, okay. I think the next step after that was Kanye. Was like, yeah, just like that college dropout, late registration. He was the new like hottest thing. So it's actually funny. Like I remember asking for one of his CDs for like my birthday or Christmas. It was either college drop. I think it was actually late registration. But it was funny because my parents got it for me because he was on the Grammys and he did Jesus Walks. And they thought they thought like, oh, he's like a
gospel rapper.
Yeah. And it is like turned out to be Kanye, right? Who, I mean, I guess now
I'm laughing because I don't know. This is the beautiful thing about hip hop, right? Like, just I'm listening, right? And it's that natural intergenerational like appeal of it. So your dad's a jazz head, his brother's like, yo, what's up with this 50? You're like 50. Parents are like Kanye, Jesus, rap, Austin. And so it's like the entry point for people is so different. And I know like me, as I get older and I like ask students, college, graduate, high school, you know, what drew you to hip hop? It's so funny because I feel like someone else is like, well, you know, we heard Jesus Walks. And like, you know, for some folks, like there's a very strong tradition around gospel music and then like a hard line of it's not about Jesus and it's secular, don't play. So I've heard that like Jesus Walks was like a bridge for folks to be like, oh, rap. Okay. So it's just, I'm listening, I'm like, yo, it's, I love that. I love this story.
That's really interesting. I think you're right. That's probably an entry point for a lot of people around my age and maybe a little bit older, like specifically Jesus Walks. Yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, like that era, it was one of those things where I just, once I got that introduction, I just wanted to know more and more and more and more, and just really fell in love with it, and eventually fell in love with lyricism. Like, I loved the sonics at first, but I started putting two and two together, like in terms of like, oh wow, this is genius in terms of the way that this storytelling is working, the way that metaphors are working, and that's when I really like I became like obsessed, and that's what really were the early seeds of what became Rhymes with Reason. Yeah, and specifically one artist that I really like to credit is Lupe Fiasco.
Oh my God, full stop, Ashe.
Yeah.
I know there's some folks who like Lupe is too much for them. Mm-hmm. Lupe was not too much for me, is not too much for me. I have driven to a Lupe concert in like random wherever I was, Virginia, Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. And I'm like standing on the chair, every lyric.
for sure. I mean, just like it was crazy because I remember being in 7th grade and like hearing, like listening to him, like just everything from him, and just like I remember there was this summer where I stayed at my grandfather's house in Detroit, and there was like nothing for me to do other than just like there was nothing for me to. I was just at my granddad's house. Like I'm not from there, so I didn't have any like friend. There's family there, but I was there for like the whole summer or close to the whole summer, and he had just gotten a computer, and this was like probably 2006, 2007, and all I did was just go on YouTube and look up every song that Lupe ever made. And this was when Lupe was Lupe. Like,
No, listen, I was not that young, but I feel like I was doing the same.
yeah, no, and it's funny because what I'm saying too is like I knew, like it was crazy because now I listen back to his music around that time, and there's so many references that I catch now that like make sense. It was like weird though. I knew that he was doing something like genius, and I was only catching like 20% of it. Like, and I still knew like, okay. And now that I'm older, it's like this is even more ridiculous than I thought it was.
Yeah. No, I mean, back in the day, like it's so great to hear you mention like CDs. Like, because that was an act and that was a practice to like have together. And then, iTunes came along, and then you have like these MP3s, but you still want to download it to a CD because you got to play it somewhere else anyway before iPods. But I'm gonna just out myself. I'm not someone who has always purchased music in the traditional legal way, but I bought every album and like committed soul memory to every. So, I think that's so beautiful. Like, again, you saying you grew up around all of these like music loving folks, wasn't really hitting. And then 50s album hits. Then there's Kanye and there's Lupe, and you are citing folks. And there's something you said, like they're creating these visual pictures, these movies, because of the amazing storytelling, the amazing literary devices and flips and metaphors and rhyme with this. So I'm like, well, that just sounds like an ice cream cone that's got sprinkles and all the things on it that you want to digest. And so now I'm wondering, like, if you've drawn this story of like Austin, like meeting music, meeting lyricism, we can hear those early seeds of influence onto what later becomes like your amazing baby. That's this beautiful resource for folks. But can you draw a picture of, so this is happening in this world. You're in Motor City. Now mean nothing to you, but grandpa got a computer. What's happening when you're in those brick and mortar places, like Austin as the student, Austin as the young person in school? Is school clicking for you the same way that hip hop? Okay, there's a quick head shake. No.
No, not at all. So that's the thing is like, people always recognize me as being a smart person from a young age, but I was not great. Mostly my parents recognized me for being a smart person, but like teachers, all that, they said they saw potential and things like that, but I wasn't a great, like, I was that kid that just like never really, lived up to like, oh yeah, no, we could see, he's smart, but like it just wasn't like necessarily translating.
There was always a but. He's smart, but.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was just that it wasn't interested, and I hadn't applied. Like when I'm interested in something, I know how to become expert in it. I know how to, master it a lot of times. And I was doing that with hip hop, but was not doing that in school. And when you're a kid, like you just don't, like there's only a finite and just as a person, there's like only a finite amount of things that you can like master at once. And my mastery and my like intellectual curiosity was just poured into that hip hop category. And then also sports too. I'm a gigantic sports head as well. And that's like a whole nother thing. But school was like, you know, like it just didn't have that appeal. Yeah, that's like that was what is kind of going on in that world.
Did you have, like, if you go back to, because I know like, so clearly rhymes with reason. So the story of rhymes with reason, there's something about words, you know, the SAT thing. So I'm just wondering, like, pinpointing back to that maybe elementary or middle or high school, what's your relationship with like the traditional like grammar, composition classes? Like, are words, is the connection with words and meaning, is something happening for you? Or are you just like, this is not it?
I've actually always really liked I've always liked words and always liked language. Again, didn't feel cool when it was dressed up in the traditional academic package, but it felt so cool when it was dressed up in the Lupe package or the, you know what I mean? But still, even still, that was like where I was strongest always as a student, as a writer, and in the like humanities subjects. And eventually, basically what ended up happening for me is I kind of started to feel that the knowledge that I was soaking in through the music, and through my like deep commitment to like hip hop, it started to kind of manifest in my academic, in my writing like trajectory, in as a student. And also, and when I was a high school student too, I also I have good mentors and things like that. And I like matured enough to turn into a good student, but all these things kind of converged at once, where I was building confidence in my writing ability and like more like the humanities subjects. But a lot of that was rooted in this expertise, my confidence in this expertise that I had in like kind of hip hop influenced learning, if that makes sense, that I was doing independently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I kind of figured it out. I figured out how to do school. Except like math was still like kind of a little rougher, but I figured out how to do those other subjects and figured out how to do it like very well. And became like kind of transformed from like 8th to 12th grade, or like 9th to 12th grade, and became like a 4.0 student by the end of high school, and then was admitted to Brown University. And at Brown,
no slouch.
and then at Brown, I knew that I wanted to do this. Like I had this idea, like we talked about earlier.
What you said, you knew you wanted to do this, because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, you got into a good school, and you know, some folks think it's enough to be at a good school and kind of play the game that way, but something's happening where you go, you have this awareness that you can recall clearly on like this transformation you've gone through 9th through 12th grade. It's hip hop influence, the word love is there, and it's catalyzing this other like confidence in Austin as a learner. So you get to Brown and you go, it's not enough to be here. I have this idea. Where did this idea, what like is, if there is, was there a light bulb moment, or maybe a little string of light bulbs where you were like, oh, this worked for me. Wait, I can't let it go. I'm at Brown, do this now.
Well, you kind of described it. I I felt so lucky to, I just, a lot of it is just feeling like I received this amazing opportunity that I wasn't sure I deserved, and stuff like that, to go to an Ivy League school. And it was like, I just felt like a burden, not burden's not the, an obligation
Okay.
to give back. And um, another way to frame it too is the idea of rhymes with reason and kind of like the ethos beneath it, when I think about it in the hip hop context, is like, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur as well. That's a whole nother thing. I actually saw this like letter that I wrote, where I was trying to do it like a delivery service for like neighbors and stuff, where I would go to the grocery store, and I was passing, there was like copies. I don't know if I ever actually did it, but I don't remember, but I saw pictures of this letter where I created like a Uber Eats on feet situation.
So you were like a pedestrian Instacart potential.
Yeah. And I was 11. It was like my name is 11 I'm 11 years old. My name is Austin Martin, blah, blah, blah. And so I always knew I also wanted to be an entrepreneur. And basically what I'm saying is, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, like I wanted to be like the conscious rapper equivalent of an entrepreneur. So what I mean is like, okay, you could be an entrepreneur and be like, and no slight to this person I'm about to name, but you could be like Birdman, or you could be like Diddy. Like those are entrepreneurs, right? Those are guys that own record labels and things like that. But my style was more like, a Lupe, or like someone that wants to change things with their creativity, or maybe Birdman. Like I'm trying to think of like a socially conscious like hip hop entrepreneur. Like that's like a
well, I mean, the other thing with that, and this is not an aside, right? Is I hear you and I feel you, and I'm also like this is the thing. Like I feel like hip hop culture is kind of like this beautiful mafia. Like, so you got like Birdman, Diddy, and these guys who are older, and their 20-year-old selves, maybe we didn't hear it and catch it, aren't thinking about social impact, or aren't front loading that. I mean, we think about a Jay-Z, and it seems extremely evident now. They're like, oh, he's dope and he's trying to like do stuff for the people. And it's like, could we hear that? Was he trying to front load that? Because it is in some of his lyrics, but it wasn't so evident. That's the thing, if you grow up. I mean, people grow up, period, right? But I hear what you're saying, where I think like you had from the inception this idea to have social impact with your entrepreneurial desire, where other folks are like, I'm an entrepreneur and I want to just stack that bread.
Exactly.
That cheese. So.
Exactly. That was a good one. So no, like that's the thing. It's like, if I see myself as somebody that wants to create something, my style is always one where there's impact attached to it. And again, I'm like drawing that parallel even with the artists that I really liked growing, like the Lupes, like even the Kendricks and the J. Coles and the I remember even early high school being a fan of Little Brother and Mos Def and Jay Electronica. When he first came out, I thought was like the most amazing thing on earth. And I'm just saying my style, even from back then, and I'm using the music as a metaphor, but is somebody that wants to, is conscious. It's like being conscious.
Your consciousness switch was already past the off place, where I think maybe the perception is some folks, it seems like it wasn't even on, not even a little. So your fuse was already like engaged.
Exactly.
So now, you've been to Brown, You're now at Harvard Graduate School of Education. I don't know what other Ivies you are going to like find yourself at some kind of way, but so you had this idea. You knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. You know that this hip hop, your relationship with hip hop has triggered something for you as a human, as a learner, and you go, let me launch Rhymes with Reason, excuse me. So folks who are like joining in who may not know, can you tell us like one, what is Rhymes with Reason? Even like, how did you land on that name? What was its original intent? And then take us through the evolution of its growth until now.
Yeah, so that first year at Brown, again, I had all these different emotions and feelings that I was just talking about, that I wanted to deliver something conscious to the world, that I felt like this massive privilege to be at an Ivy League university, all these emotions, but then concretely, I had this idea around Rhymes with Reason loosely that I wanted kids to be able to learn something via hip hop, because how much I learned via hip hop, I thought it would be words, in vocabulary, but I needed to like validate that hypothesis with some research, and that's what they teach you when you get to college. It started where I looked up the top 100 words on the SAT and found 67 out of the top 100 words in.
Let me just, I'm what my friends call me word perv because I do love words. And I was like, little Miss Spelling Bee, I do. I have never, ever in my life, this is why I'm like, you knew you was onto something, like, let me look up the top 100 SAT words. My brain was, let me get as far away from the SAT as possible. So I just want to shout out that, like, for folks, like, and especially I think there's a message for young folks, like, there's a way to take your curiosity and your passion and go, what's possible to create? Like, not many people were thinking like the top, I want to be like the top 100 SAT words, or words we'll need to be using. But you said, let me get at them. So you're looking at the top 100 SAT words, and then you're like 67 of them.
Yeah, and that was when, like, that light bulb moment, when it's like, okay, wait, there's something here. Like there's something here, and because then it's like, okay, 100 words, then you like expand that list to like 1,000 words, and then you start looking at, all right, that's a SAT. That's like the height of K-12, like rigor, right? And then you like come down to like 6th grade, and it's like, wait, there's an over even more than 67%. I don't have the exact figure, but it's like definitely more, right, than the overlap with the top 100 SAT words. So it was all of a sudden like, okay, now I'm like building a bank and a library of academic words that we listen to every day, whether we know it or not, via hip hop, and then like hip hop, R&B, popular music, right? And yeah, and that's like kind of how it started. Was just
what those initial words were. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I know it's been a minute.
I know, I'm trying to think. Like, I remember one of the words I think is like ostentatious. I remember that because my name is Austin. Another one.
And what song were you like, ostentatious?
I did research too. Like, it wasn't like a song just came to my head.
Okay.
But it's a Nas song, I believe, that has that one. I think one that really surprised me is quid pro quo, which is not a word, but like a Latin phrase. But it's from, Kendrick uses it on Pimp a Butterfly. And yeah, those are two that come to mind.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. So you launched Rhymes with Reason while you were still at Brown.
Yeah, like, so
what was the intention of it? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, no, I was just gonna say, so like I was building it while I was at Brown, right? And building and doing very early pilots. Like we put together a Weebly website where it had YouTube links and flashcards and stuff like that. And we had kids at a local high school in Providence try it out and they loved it. We like A and B tested it with like regular flashcards and they did better on the Rhymes with Reason uh, website than they did on the traditional flashcards. Um, so I was like doing that sort of thing while in undergrad. Um, yeah. So I just wanted to like clarify because like when you say launch too, I don't know, it's like one of the it means different to different people sometimes.
Yeah. I feel you. So I mean, I've gotten a chance to interact with at least a version that existed 2 years ago. I'm sure there's been growth. So, I mean, in the description, you call it an e-learning resource. So even before this time of little boxes on boxes, and we sit here and we learn all day, even before this virtual, socially distant learning world, Rhymes with Reason was already like in the digital space. And is it something that is it like like anybody just goes like how do people like how could you walk us through like what does it mean to engage Rhymes with Reason as an e-learning platform? Is this for school districts? Is it for teachers? Is it for parents?
Yeah. So yeah, no, we're very fortunate, I guess, that before COVID, we just wanted to be a e-learning, web-based, online learning platform. The reason for that was really because music is digital, like music is like digitally consumed. And we wanted to have this hybrid experience where you could listen to music and learn at the same time. So that had to be like naturally hosted on a digital platform, right? Because music it exists on digital platforms since we started building this, right? So that's really why. And what was the second half of the question?
What does it look like for folks to interact with Rhymes with Reason? If they type in Rhymes with Reason, what's the experience that you've designed and maybe how has it evolved over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the experience started out as again the project started with SAT and college prep. So at first it was a college prep vocabulary experience where you could learn SAT, ACT, college prep words that were researched in terms and I guess picked via their alignment with standardized tests. And you could learn those words while listening to excerpts of songs that these words appeared in. So I used the example of Kendrick with Quid Pro Quo. So you see the song, you see it has kind of a Spotify, Apple Music type of feel, where it's like, okay, I'm going to listen to Complexion by Kendrick Lamar, but instead of just listening to Complexion, I'm gonna listen to the portion of Complexion where Kendrick says the word quid pro quo. A definition pops out. I have different sample sentences and examples of quid pro quo being used in other contexts. And then I go through different practice exercises that kind of drill down what quid pro quo means, starting with examining how Kendrick uses it in the context that he uses it. So that's how it started out. That was like the initial model. Since then, we've expanded. There's a lot happening with the SAT, which is great. It's kind of getting phased out. But what's interesting is that school districts actually, like some school districts are actually utilizing certain sections of the SAT for their like state, like the reading section for their like
State test.
state test, or their district like accreditation, like test that they have as a part of their district. So it's not getting completely phased out. It's kind of like College Board is moving into the K-12 space. As far as I know, I've heard about that at least at Providence Public Schools in Rhode Island, where Brown is. And so we still offer the SAT stuff, but we also offer vocabulary acquisition as low as 4th grade level. So 4th grade all the way up to 12th grade. So we've just added that into our model. A new thing that there are dashboards where administrators can track progress and performance. Of course, they can see their students' quiz scores, but they can see their entire student body's average quiz score. They can see how many words each student has learned, how much time each student is spending on the platform, giving them metrics and analytics that show, okay, that this program is working, or shows students that need help. Just giving them meaningful data points around the program that help them do their job better and help them help students and everything like that. That's a big addition that we've added to the platform. There's a ton of, I could go on a very long list. Like a brand new thing that we're launching right now, our gamification a gamification system where there's badges for like, if you beat your average quiz score, you get a reward for that. We want people to beat their
I love the gamifying. Is so, I think that works with all humans, not even just the younger ones. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Just again, our core competency is engagement, right? And being a vehicle to make learning interesting. So the music is one dimension, and then another dimension is adding in that gamification and competition and things like that. So that's another thing that's going to be that's launching in the summer for us. It'll be a part of our product moving forward.
Okay. So like, all right. So I'm like, all right, do you sleep? So how big is your team? And when I see that you like work with Chance and Social Works program, and that you're in over 150 schools and programs in the States, like, who's your crew?
Yeah. So
solo dolo, or else I'm like, when are you sleeping? And you're a graduate student?
No, definitely not solo dolo. There's about 10 people total that work on Rhyme with Reason. Software engineers, like other people that check our like quarterly, kind of do like educational methodological consulting and help refine our methodology, our implementation strategies, survey like school principals, teachers, and see how we can improve our product all the time. Some of these people are actually, all of them are have an EDM that are like tweaking that stuff for us and refining that stuff for us. People that write our assessments and help write our content. Salespeople. Who am I missing? Social media folks.
Yeah, whole gang. Like, okay, so you've gone from, hey, I don't know about music. What? 50? Okay, Kanye, Lupe. Ooh, I'm thriving in school. Hello, Brown. I have an idea. Do. Rhymes with Reason. Boom. Now we're doing this stuff. Here we are, 2021. I think there's a lot of lessons that many of us, particularly in the education field, is broad, right? But many of us in the education field can point to like, great, there are things that like I think COVID ed has shown us we do not need to go back to because they weren't working. And in some ways, it maybe has accelerated us realizing just how diverse engagement strategies can be to learners and where learning happens. So you've already been innovating. I know you got some big stuff coming up. What's your goal? So looking at your baby is now like bordering, it's like a cute little person, like 5 or 6 years old. What do you want for your baby, for Rhymes with Reason, like in the next 1 to 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm remembering that you said like you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you wanted to have this social impact. And I know you're not a small thinker. I've learned that about you. So where do you want to see Rhymes with Reason go in its next couple of years here?
Yeah. So I would like for it to serve 1 million students.
Come on.
Yeah.
At least
1 million students. And I would like for it to be the hip hop / pop culture Khan Academy. And what I mean by that, not that it would have the same business model as Khan Academy, but it would, in terms of content, it would be similar. So another thing that I don't know that I've told you about yet, but is in addition to like teaching, vocab that is related to English language arts and reading growth, we also teach vocabulary and terminology related to financial literacy.
Come on, yes.
Related to workforce readiness. And basically, the reason I'm mentioning that in the context of mentioning Khan Academy is that we have the ability, and we're already doing this, to teach concepts, terms, and help upskill students in other meaningful developmental categories that, if I'm being really honest, that Black and brown low income students underachieving compared to white counterparts, right? Yeah. So we can be this one-stop shop where you go to learn something meaningful, to upskill in a specific area that's going to help your career trajectory, academic trajectory, but via the engaging context of hip hop and pop music to pull you in. Like right now, nothing is really pulling kids into Khan Academy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we will have that same style platform, but with the hook of hip hop and pop culture. Right. So that's like where I'd like to get to in the next 5 years. Yeah. And then, yeah,
I think you're also pointing to like what I will say, not to prescribe this one to you, but I feel like what's gotten highlighted over this last year plus that we've been sitting at screens by and large is like what is important to learn and what methods of teaching have we unnecessarily glorified, right? Like people learn. I learn a lot by just gathering with people. And I don't know, that doesn't mean that there's a teacher or professor there, or that there's homework, but the act of gathering, there's so much multi-directional feeling, observing, learning, vibing. I think that's so beautiful around hip hop, how hip hop invites people to gather, folks that you wouldn't think would gather together. But like, yo, if we were just like Lupe Fiasco, Lupe lovers gather, you get a little some of everybody. And so I think that is what you're saying is speaking to a very natural and essential dimension of education. And that means, how do you get people together? How do you not necessarily like trick them, but pull them in on an interest that is there and go like, well, how do you learn? I know some folks, some young people who've done well with online classroom because actually they could design, they know their agency and they know where school wasn't meeting them. And so we got access issues around technology, but I know some young people that have been thriving without having to go and sit in the classroom and be overlooked And I'm thinking about particularly our Black and Brown young people who in some ways have been thriving on the social dimension of schooling and education. Yes, we need people. So the Rhymes with Reason Khan Academy replacement, I feel like you're right on the right. We're on the frequency for that. And it's, you know, there are other initiatives around financial literacy in schools because we are realizing, like, and this is no diss, my sister's an amazing mathematician, the quadratic equation and like geometric proofs haven't really done a lot for me in life. No diss to those that it serves. But what does everybody need to learn about numbers and how they impact life and comprehension? Why aren't we making more space for that? So I'm here for it. I get really excited. I'm gonna always be a fan of Rhymes with Reason and of yours. And so, you know, any way that HipHopEX can continue to be your cheerleader to help, you know, just celebrate you as you go, you know, we're here for that. Yeah.
That a lot. Yeah, no, it's been like HipHopEX has really given me a lot of confidence too in the last couple years, and just meeting y'all and, you know, being embraced by you and HipHopEX has really, like, you know, you said like, oh yeah, you're a big thinker. Like I've always been that way, but like working with somebody like yourself and meeting somebody like you and working with HipHopEX has like made me think I could be bold, like assured me in my boldness kind of. So I really appreciate it a lot.
It's all love. Listen, I hope that with folks also that are taken away, like I hope folks know, like, you know, that they can go and check out Rhymes with Reason. What's the website?
Yeah, www.rhymeswithreason.com.
www.rhymeswithreason.com. Yes, there is an H in the word rhymes because English is just.
I'm glad you said that because people spell it wrong all the time.
You know, and I sometimes like maybe our natural inclination is not to have so many silent letters. I was just thinking the other day, this is my word perkiness. I was like, what's a consonant that's never silent? And I was like, okay.
Wow.
No. B. You should always say B, but we don't really have to say number. This is Aysha's weird brain. I'm like, I want to be the consonant that never loses my name. It's not a K.
So I was thinking T, but no, definitely not T.
Definitely not P, because pneumonia just killed all
about
that.
Z? What about Z?
Z. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try to be a Z unless I find a word. But like, yeah. And I feel like X just gets so, like, X can't even, like, you say X because we say the letter X, but then X always has to almost like in the middle of a word, or sometimes it just has to sound like a Z. Like, it's so weird. I feel bad for some of the letters. So I'm like, I want to be a letter that always says its name.
That's hilarious.
I know. This is Aysha's weird.
No, it's good. This is
word nerdiness.
This is the stuff that creates like amazing things, you know, like these type of thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you were like, okay, I need to find proof, right? The way the kind of traditional academia wants to have it. You're like, well, SAT words, there's this value there around SAT. And as you say, and what we've known is like schools are moving away from standardized testing. It doesn't mean that learning and really feeling like you can own vocabulary and meaning is gone. It's just where that gets emphasized. And so I feel like Rhymes with Reason is ready, has already been ready. I know you're getting ready to bring some more people into the Love Fest with your pitch. That's how I'm gonna say it. You're bringing people to the Love Fest.
I like that.
So I don't want to. We know that you got to get ready for that in the next coming days, but I hope folks are taking away that we also have to remember that music is innately a beautiful form of literacy, and not just because it's words, but it's how people connect to words and create those meaning frames. And, you know, like who else like it would be like, oh, Nas clearly says ostentatious. And then it's like a connection with that person because of how they're engaging that music. So for folks who don't know yet about Rhymes with Reason, make sure you go check out the website. but also invite your students. If you know your young people or your adult people are listening to music, let's not discount how powerful of a text that is to also bring into the space. So if anybody got any stale practices, this is your time to freshen it up. Check out Rhymes with Reason on the interwebs, on the social medias. And Austin, I'm gonna continue. I expect to hear some good news soon because y'all doing good things.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I really appreciate you having me, and everybody out there listening. Thank you for tuning in. Would love to connect with you personally, and please connect with Rhymes with Reason on it's on all the social media platforms. And thank you for your support. Always,
always. All right, folks, everybody be well. Make sure you drink you some water, take a nap, go dance it out, whatever it is. And let's keep moving forward. Pieces, everybody. Peace to ya. Bye.